Okay, so the last one, what I'm talking about is more of a reflection really than a show and tell of all these wonderful apps and things that people have been showing us this evening, but it comes from the COVID situation in Italy, and the title I think says it all really, teaching through and not to the machine, because quite a lot of people in Italy are new to teaching online. I don't think this is true of the audience here. I think I can see lots of people who are very expert at teaching online, but for these people, there's a real danger of teaching to the screen rather than through it and focusing on the actual teaching learning process. So this is designed for those people who are new perhaps to online teaching, and the message is to keep calm, plan, and take it one step at a time, particularly when teaching in video conferencing contexts. So the story of Italy in the last few months has not been a happy one. Significant date was the 9th of March, which was the national lockdown in Italy, although universities had closed before that. And from one day to the next, teachers in schools and universities found themselves having to teach online, which they haven't done before. And I'm sure this happened in lots of contexts too, but this is the context I know. And in the university, for example, people often use a learning management system like Moodle to put up their slides, but to actually teach, to do distance learning online was not something that many people had done. So the university gave us two options. Panopto is a platform for asynchronous videos. So lecturers recorded their videos and put them online for students to study autonomously, or Zoom for video conferencing. Well, these choices led to shock, horror, widespread panic among teachers, fear. Will I be able to change my teaching process? What am I going to do? How am I going to manage my time? It's going to take hours and hours to redo all my lectures. And then the technology, will it work or not? Oh yeah, and then there was the virus in the background. So many of my colleagues looked like this, and a few of the thoughts that were going through their heads were things like, what's Zoom? What's Panopto? Will my hair look okay on a video? How am I going to transform my teaching? And this came again and again. How long should a lesson be? Should it be shorter than usual, longer than usual? And another very widespread thought was, you can't teach online. You can't teach online. I heard many of my colleagues saying this, you just cannot teach online. So as a result of this, many opted for the Panopto, for the video. They recorded their videos and they put them online, and these have been accepted in received in various different ways, but everybody knows we were in an emergency, so there's a lot of tolerance. The people who opted for video conferencing, many of them experienced teachers, however, were extremely preoccupied, obviously, with the mechanics of setting up the videos. So there were a lot of people who spoke a lot more than perhaps they normally would, or they had a kind of think aloud when they were using the video. So someone would say, okay, if I click on this green button here, then will I be able to share my video? Yeah. Oh yes, it's working. Wow. And oh, and I want you to look at this. Now, where is it? Now, I'm sure I put that. Oh, there it is. This PDF here. So this kind of think aloud whilst they were actually teaching, which means that they were actually teaching to the machine, thinking about their own logistics and not thinking about the language process, the language teaching process. So this is teaching to the machine, whereas what we really want is teaching through the machine. And the idea that the technology, in the words of Stephen Bax, is invisible, and that learning emerges from it, so that the technology disappears into the background, and what happens is communication and teaching through that technology. So quickly, I would like to give a few basic tips, a basic plan, things to think about. First of all, it's useful to provide some work in advance, give learners something to do to prepare for the lesson so that they're not spending so much time in front of an actual screen. Don't forget to do a warmer. Teachers who would normally do a warmer in class sometimes were so preoccupied with the actual mechanics of teaching online that they didn't do anything like that. They just started talking straight into the lesson. At one stage, I used a chat box discussion, and the students at this point were extremely frightened, and I couldn't say to them, type into the chat box what you did this weekend or where you went, because nobody had gone anywhere. So I said, let's type in one moment during the weekend that was a joyful moment. And I started by saying, this morning, because it was really quiet, I could hear the birds singing outside the window. And it really helped to create a nice supportive atmosphere. In long lessons, ask students to get up and move, because students are spending hours in front of a video screen, as are teachers. So getting up and moving around is useful. Provide work to do outside class. We had groups set up on WhatsApp, and they had exercises to do. Maybe they had a translation to do, and they could talk about it together. They could discuss what they were going to do. Parley for discussions, and then Padlet. So they maybe then posted the results of their work on Padlet. Lessons need to be paced, not all the same. Breakout rooms cut things up, but in my experience, it's better to have breakout rooms with clear tasks. Maybe demonstrating a task first, as you would in classroom before setting up small groups. And then people having clear roles. So who's going to be sharing the screen? Who's going to be doing it? What is going to be the feedback at the end? Vary the activities and activity types as well, as you would in a normal classroom. I actually recorded all my lessons in any case on Zoom, because it's easy to do so, and put them on the learning management system, because I had both Zoom and I had Moodle, the LMS, which was like the door to all the activities that we did. So that in any case gives students the chance to go back and study autonomously later. And finally, I think one of the most important things is to use your common sense and to have a plan B and a plan C ready. So if you can't embed your audio into what you're doing, your audio file, play it on your telephone and let them listen to it. So common sense, I think. I can see there are lots of things coming up on the chat. I don't know if there are any questions. Anyway, the last thing, and not least here, is pace yourself as well, because teaching online, even if you're used to it, can be exhausting. Open your documents, open your PowerPoints, whatever you're going to use, before you start teaching, rather than actually during the session, because it only takes maybe a few seconds for it to open, but it'll stress you if you haven't got it ready. Okay, so that is more or less the end, but I wanted to finish with Mentimeter, if we can, to return to the beginning of this conference when Heike started with Mentimeter. So if you go to mentimeter.com on your telephones or on your computers or where you want, and type in this code, which I'm putting into the chat box. Okay. And I'll just come out of here for the moment so that we can see my Menti. Okay, so if you are in that, you see the code is this one, 132769, and you should just be able to write 3 words to describe how you feel now at the end of this incredibly rich conference that we've been through in the past 2 days? Curious, intrigued, tired, yeah. Well, it's also getting quite late, I think. Stuffy. Okay, see if anything else is coming up. Encouraged, entertained, intrigued. Yeah, lots of people are feeling tired, but that's probably a good thing because it means that you've been involved as well. Okay, so I'll just go back to my PowerPoint to say that I hope that this type of empty square is something that we'll be seeing less of in Italy fairly soon. And thank you for listening.